Welcome to the Javier Mendez podcast. This week we're going to talk about some good upcoming fights, any new developments. Did you watch Bellator this weekend?
No, I didn't get to watch Bellator. I didn't know when it was on. I tried to find it, but I got the last event that that televised here in the U.S. But I didn't get to see the one from Dublin. So I mean, I don't even know. I know Aaron Pico won because I saw it in his Instagram. But that's it. I don't know anybody else. I wanted to see the champ. Johnny Eblen, I believe his name.
Johnny Eblen, yeah.
I wanted to see him because everybody's talking about how good he is. So I definitely wanted to see him perform. You know, I like when I hear so many good things about somebody. I like for judging for myself, and unfortunately, I didn't get to judge for myself because I couldn't get the program. So I don't know if did he win or I mean I don't even know that.
Yeah. I'll go into that discussion. Let's start with Pico. Did Pico ever train with you? I thought I saw him at AK. I don't know if he did or not. I think he's somewhere else, right? Did he ever train at AK?
He's with Greg Jackson's. Pico started with us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so he was out of California and he moved?
He was managed by the management that was over here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's finally coming into his own. It's like I remember he came into Bellator. They're like, he's going to kill everybody. He's unstoppable. All of a sudden he loses a one or two, and it's like he was on a skid. Now he's starting to manifest that guy that he was projected to be.
Yeah, to me, he was just a matter of matchmaking, in my opinion. You know, he went a little too fast, and I don't think anybody doubted where he was going to be at one point. I think he was still on track, and like you said, he's probably there now. I mean, every time I've seen him, he's soaring. He's soaring. Ever since Ali took him over as manager, his fights have been like pretty incredible.
So that's changed. He's with Ali. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Ali's managing him. Yeah.
So he's rocking. I mean, he's starting to look like the guy they promised. I mean, he just looks unstoppable. Heavy hands. His last fight before this, he threw so hard that he threw out his shoulder. His punches are so hard. That's what they were saying, at least in color commentary. But yeah, he looks like a great athlete. He was very, very convincing and dominant in that win. And I could see where he has an argument to fight for the title eventually, because I see what everybody's been hyping behind him. Johnny Eblen is probably very possibly the best middleweight in the world. Kind of hard to prove it, and because we're not in the same league, but watching this guy, you kind of see a bit of a Bo Nickel because of the wrestling, but then you see a puncher and a fighter, and he basically won that fight with his stand up. He got the TKO of
Edwards
brother Edwards. Yeah, Fabian. He knocked him down. Fabian was good though in the beginning. I mean, he had his moves, but and he cut Johnny up pretty bad. He like a hole, like the eyebrow was open up. You could see almost to the skull, but he kept fighting and he won. He hit him with a hard shot and followed him down to the ground. And I don't know. You were telling me you heard rumors like all the guys that spar with him, it gets around the gyms. You guys usually hear it first on the Gym Network, I guess.
Yeah. Everybody that's anybody has talked highly about him, and I've yet to see anybody say different than what I've heard from top coaches that talk about him and top fighters talk about him. So, but I haven't personally seen him myself. I look forward to the time I get to watch him because I want to see that kind of talent, and I like watching them perform and how they perform. And, he's definitely one of the unknown guys that should be known more so than what he is now. And in my opinion, based on the talk I hear about him, that he's the real deal, and he could very well easily be number one over any middleweight from what a lot of guys are saying. But that we'll never know until you fight the other leagues, which really is the key. At middleweight, there's only Bellator really, because no one else is really in the running for that number one spot. So it's just Bellator because PFL doesn't have a middleweight division, and ONE FC. I don't know enough about ONE FC. Or I don't think anybody knows about ONE FC.
I don't think they have any known talent or any namely talent.
Not in the middleweight division. Right. Not the middleweight division, right? Because ONE FC has major talent. They just I don't know about the middleweight division either. So I think that he's the guy that everybody talks about. On the underground, more or less. The people that know talk about him.
Yeah, he's a beast, man. It's interesting. It's like this is one of the times that you can look at Bellator like people always had the great mystique. Like, is Bellator as good as UFC, or is Strikeforce as good as UFC? But then what? All your guys that were in Strikeforce came over from Strikeforce to UFC and became champions. Like, yeah, we're just warming up over here. I mean,
there was a lot of Strikeforce champions that became UFC champions. Ronda Rousey, Luke Rockhold, Daniel Cormier. There's quite a few. I can go on and on and on, and you're gonna go, whoa, I didn't know that. But Tyron Woodley. There's so much champions that came out of Strikeforce. A lot of great fighters that didn't become champions, but became well-known fighters in the UFC too. Gilbert Melendez. There's quite a few. Jake Shields. There's a whole bunch of fighters that came over from Strikeforce, which shows you the depth of talent that Strikeforce had. And in my opinion, Bellator has got a great roster there, but not as good as Bellator had. I mean, as Strikeforce. Sorry, excuse me. Bellator has got a good roster, but Strikeforce at their point before they sold had the list of champions. Think about it. Ronda Rousey,
Fedor,
Cormier, Misha Tate. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I'll keep forgetting names. Yoel Romero. A bunch of those guys. Machida. You name it. Strikeforce had them way back then.
Yeah, that's true. They were lined up. Scott built one hell of a fighting unit there. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we've had a Bellator crossover champion yet into the UFC, have we? I can't think of one. There might be one.
No.
Michael Chandler's the closest to try to reach, but he's not
I think
within reach yet.
Chandler's the first one that came in, and he failed pretty bad, actually.
Yeah.
But now Chandler's a much more seasoned fighter than he was then, but he came in with a big bang. Michael Chandler came in with a big bang. He did some great, exciting fights.
He represented.
He's probably one of the best promo guys that I've ever seen in the lightweight division. He knows how to cut a promo, man. He knows how to cut a promo. So Michael Chandler is an exciting fighter, and win or lose, you'll remember Michael Chandler because he gave his best performance, and he gave it all. He gave what he had.
Yeah, maybe they should send the UFC guys over to WWE school. Now that they've merged to cut promos. Imagine how dynamic the YouTube would blow up if they were all schooled in the methodology of the pro wrestlers. I mean,
but I wonder if they did do that, if the people will think, oh, that's just bullshit. I want the real thing. I think let them be who they are. Like Nate Diaz is the G. He's just who he is. He's not following anybody's footsteps. He's doing what he wants to do, but he does it in style. And I think another one that does it as a heel, but is his own style and he did copy other people is Colby Covington. He's a heel, and
mm-hmm.
he does it right. You hate him. You don't like him. You don't like what he says. You don't like what he says. But, you want to watch him either win or you want to watch him lose. Most people, because of the way he talks, I would assume most people want him to lose, and he knows how to hit the right points. He really does. And I like what he does because Kobe doesn't come after country, doesn't come after religion. He comes after the fighter and et cetera, and he belittles the fighter in whatever way he wants. I think it's fair game, and Kobe, Kobe knows how to do it. Cubby. I said Cubby. Colby. He knows how to promote. He knows how to promote his fights, and he's a needle mover for sure. And I every time he fights, I know I'm going to get entertained by him, and I definitely look forward to watching him fight because he's entertaining.
Well, he's talking smack about Islam, but that's okay. Just trying to sell some more pay-per-views. He's trying to sell some pay-per-views. They're watching the podcast. Are you hurt and offended? You're like, no, this looks good for us.
No, I love it. Because look, listen. What if Kobe wins? What if he wins? You can't say he can't because he definitely can. He wins that fight with Leon. Okay, then Islam defends against Charles, and then let's see what the UFC has in store for him. Maybe the UFC goes, hey, this fight makes sense. Let's put this together. Who knows? I don't know what's going on. The UFC decides who they want next, and they have already their agenda, what they want to do. But I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong with what Colby's doing. He's doing it right. He's preparing for the next one. Build it. That's how these fights are built. These guys know what they're doing. They know how to build them. And that's why they take someone like Sean O'Malley, and they do a lot with Sean O'Malley. But you got to understand this: the UFC isn't having Sean O'Malley learn how to promote himself. I just think Sean O'Malley knows how to promote himself, period. I don't think the UFC works on guys, hey, guys, we got to work on your promo material. No, these guys are just who they are, and the UFC realizes that these are needle movers. Let's push them in the limelight. Like, for instance, Paddy the Batty, right? Who's his next opponent? They put. I was
going to talk about him, but go ahead.
Yeah, they put him in with Tony Ferguson. Okay, so here they're giving another favorable fight, or maybe not so favorable fight. Who knows? Maybe we'll see the El Cucuy finally come out and do what he's supposed to do. Do what he has been doing beforehand. He hasn't had the best of luck in the last few fights he's had, but the guy still wants to fight. He's still in there. His last fight didn't show me he's done. Last fight showed me that he still has it in him to fight. So, Paddy the Batty might just have a little bit more than he needs from El Cucuy. Who knows? Or maybe Paddy will prove that he belongs where he does. I don't know. It's hard to say. I just know it's a good matchup. It's an intriguing matchup. I definitely want to see that. I definitely want to see El Cucuy come out and give his best, and hopefully he'll win. And if not, then it's Paddy's time, and Paddy will do what he needs to do. And either way, they're both very likable. They're both needle movers. If Tony wasn't a needle mover, trust me, they would have cut him.
Well, here's the thing. I think that Paddy got top-loaded like a Conor, rebuilt like a Conor, a guy with another intriguing accent that people like to listen to and figure out what he's saying. It's kind of like, ooh, it's interesting. They're curious about it. He had a lot of promo, a lot of hype behind him. And then his last fight, he didn't look near a percentage of what that hype was expressed to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I agree with what you're saying, but also too, you got to remember, the one before him, the built, he went through the toughest of the tough. He beat the toughest of the tough. Paddy hasn't done that yet. His first stumbling block was against a guy that was not even top 10, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
So there's a big difference between fighting somebody that's top notch, which was what Conor was doing, versus what Paddy's doing. Paddy hasn't done that, and he met a stumbling block with Jared, and Jared is underrated, no doubt, but still on the ranking board, he wasn't ranked in the top 5, top 10. But he, in my opinion, Jared, if I was judging, I would have gave it to Jared, hands down, just like most people would have. But unfortunately, I was not judging, nor the other people. So Paddy won the fight, and that's just the way it goes. And it is what it is. But that's a situation where you got a guy that knows how to sell tickets, and that's Paddy. I mean, I like watching him. He's entertaining, man.
Well, you want to see. You either want him to win or you want him to lose, and that's what you want people to watch. You want people to tune in for that.
I like watching him fight. I like watching Paddy fight. I like watching him talk too. He's very entertaining, and it's a fight, and it's definitely something that's of interest. Like, for instance, this last UFC that just happened. Honestly, I kind of snoozed through the whole thing. I wasn't. Mm-hmm. There was no real.
I was ready for you to load me up on something. I'm waiting, that's a skip all around it.
Me, the only thing that got me was Michelle Watterson. She went out there and she took a beating. And it just she's 37 now, and she's won one of the last 6 fights. She's 1-6, I believe. So she hasn't been doing too well, and she's still struggling to stay in there. In a way, but not the same. In a way, it's like Tony, right? Not the same, but in a way, as far as losing streak, she hasn't won, but she's still hungry. You could tell she's still hungry. She still wants it. So
she didn't have any threats for that lady that she fought.
No,
I felt like
too tough.
I felt like it was a UFC one person versus a current day. I mean, it's like what used to work, where her basis came when she came in the beginning of women's MMA. Ronda, all Ronda needed was judo. All this other gal, Ronda wasn't a great boxer, but she knew judo, so she could throw a big haymaker once in a while on her feet. some of the other girls had better jiu-jitsu, and then you'd get some people that were more complete, and then it evolved, and they all got more complete. But some people, when you saw that lady, the Brazilian gal, she was just bloodying her up, tearing her up, throwing power, like, and it looked like the kicks coming off Michelle, it looked like she didn't have enough power to push that lady back or devastate her by any means. Nothing to stun her or stop her. That's what it looked
No,
like to me.
she didn't really have enough firepower for her. The other girl was hungry because remember
Bigger.
her last fight was a loss too. So she was out to prove that she's better than her last performance, and she came out hungry, you know. And Michelle came out her normal, typical Michelle. You know, she's good, but just wasn't good enough that day, and against this opponent, definitely not. You know, so I don't know. Have we seen the best days of Michelle? I don't know. Maybe.
Does she come from a karate point sparring background?
Yeah, karate the hottie. That's why they call her, right?
Well, yeah, well, I mean that I don't know that karate point sparring really translates to much when it comes to
Well,
MMA
she's
fighting.
not a karate point fighter. I mean, come on, she's been studying with Greg Jackson's for quite many years. So she's not doing karate point fighting. She's doing boxing, Thai boxing. She's doing the whole thing. She's doing the total MMA. So she has a particular background, but that's not what she practiced. She practiced. It's not like Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy is like a point fighting kickboxer type thing. That's what his dad trains him in. And if you watch their training videos, that's what he does. You know, he does what he's been doing for years, you know, and which is it's full contact, but it's kind of point fighting type of training. It isn't like boxing per se. It's karate, you know, and so a Wonder Boy does do that, and extremely effective. Probably one of the best strikers of all time in the welterweight division, you know, and his record proves it. You know, he's incredible because of that particular style that his dad trained him from when he was a little boy.
He's supposed to be fighting Rachmanov. That was, Shavkat. He's supposed to be fighting
Yeah.
Shavkat. That'll be a very interesting fight. What do you think about which way does that lean?
Shavkat is who I'm thinking because he's young, he's hungry, and he's diverse in so many areas. And I just
Takedowns
think
and
that,
stand up. Yeah.
he's going to do it all. He's going to come at him with all angles, and let's see. You know, can I mean, if Wonder Boy can pull it off, then that just shows that he's worthy of another title shot. You know, I really do. If he didn't pull it off, I think that he said, "Hey, I'm the next guy in line," or if not the next guy in line, I want to be the next after that. I mean, that's what I think because Shavkat is right there. He's within this fight. He's probably going to get a title fight. I would think he should.
Yeah.
But you never know what's going to happen. Let's say Colby wins the fight, Islam wins his fight, then they both have a fight,
And you've got Alex
they put
over there.
Islam with Colby.
Yeah.
That could happen. You never know. I mean, at the UFC, they look at the algorithm. They look to see where's the best money, and you know what? That's what a company does. They look at, this is the thing. What makes the most money is what the fans mostly want, right? Otherwise, why is it making the most money?
Well, that's true. I mean, if you want to look at the PFL, that's linear. It's a linear progression. Like boom, boom, win, 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 lose, you're off. Win, lose, win, 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 you get to fight for the title. It's nothing. It's not hype based. It's not promo based. It's not that guy's fight versus that guy. Now we've got a real shark versus gorilla, whatever mix up, a variety fight that's going to intrigue people, right? That's what I see the show making. Like I was thinking this the other day. You told me, you said this is sports entertainment, sports entertainment. And I was listening to somebody talk about that.
Well, yeah, and if you don't understand that this is sports entertainment, then be upset because you're going to get upset because the guy that gets the title shot is probably a lot of the times, not all the time, but a lot of the times is probably the guy that doesn't deserve it. But he does deserve it because he's the one that's bringing more eyeballs to the screen. Because like Nate Diaz, I hate using him a lot, but he's a perfect example to use because he calls the shots a lot and he hasn't won a title. But he don't need to win a title. He's a superstar. So guess what? Why is he a superstar? He gives fans what they want. He fights. He gives them excitement. I mean, look, he fights that fight with Jake Paul, and even though he lost, he didn't lose. People loved him after the fight. People loved him after the fight. So he made his millions, and guess what? He'll come back, call his shots, make millions again. And I guess it just came out that the New Orleans police are not pressing charges against him when he choked out that guy. That kind of, if you look at the video, it kind of does look like that guy started it. Nate was just defending himself, and when he choked him out, he let him go. So it wasn't
that technique. I was privy to that technique being employed by that group of gentlemen. If somebody started something with them in a nightclub, it's like just put him out, don't beat him down, and yeah, he could have hurt himself on the way to the ground, of course, but people start stuff with they want to test MMA fighters, man.
Of course. And what Izzy, my favorite guy, I guess he got the drunk driving charge on him too, right? And I guess he pleaded guilty, to drunk driving, and who knows what they're gonna do to him? They give him 3 months. They're gonna give him a fine, 3,000 plus fine, and
he can afford a driver,
or maybe both.
He can afford a driver with that kind of money.
Yeah, but it's like what Izzy did. Is it like very uncommon to have people drive drunk? Come on.
Fortunately, it wasn't. He didn't run over or hurt anybody. So that's
he just basically got caught where most people don't get caught. But as far as what he did, the level where he was at wasn't super high. So I think he was probably capable of driving really well or not. I don't know.
You don't want to test it. I bet eventually AI gets to the point where it just watches your car swerve by a couple millimeters on the highway. They go ping, 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 tag that car. That guy's probably had a drink. He's driving 13% off compared to a regular guy.
Could be. Never know. Could be.
It's possible.
Never know. Yeah.
How is camp? How was camp with Usman? Ready for Brent Primus? You get a big week going on there. You get Romero fighting on that card too.
Yeah, Romero Cotton's fighting on the card. He's looking okay.
Bellator 300.
Usman's looking fantastic. Amuru, who's fighting for the UAE Warriors title. He is a beast. He is on fire. This kid. Oh my gosh, the superstar on the rise. Big time. He is looking fantastic. He's 7-0. Gonna fight for, I believe, the lightweight title at the UAE Warriors. And from there, I'm assuming because the UFC gets to look at this kid because the UAE is on Fight Pass. So I would imagine winning the title there is going to give him almost an automatic shot into the UFC. He's young. He's hungry. He looks fantastic. He's a great striker. He's the total package. He's got it all, and that's just I'm looking forward to watching him become a world champion.
Yeah, this is great. And you've got Usman, who's just going to be defending his title. And that's an interesting thing to be in a Grand Prix and your title's on the line at the same time. That's crazy. Yeah. Like you can't separate that. That's always thought that was interesting how Scott put the fight on like that. Like you could be the heavyweight and you're competing to win the $1 million. Meanwhile, hey, your title's on the line and you're not building up a fight or picking a fight. You're going through the grinder with the rest of the guys.
Yeah. I mean, I would have been fine the other way too. If you keep your title and you just do, fight the tournament.
See a guy that gets eyeballs.
It is what it is. Usman is I've said it. I don't know how many years back he was going to be a superstar, and now he's doing exactly what I said he was. He is now the main event on Bellator 300 in San Diego, October 7th, which is a huge deal. There's 4 title fights. He's the main one. So obviously Bellator has that much faith in him as up and coming superstar to headline a card like this. So that just means they're considering him and they're looking at him as one of the best because why would you put him as a main event if you're not looking at him? That's what you would do. You would put him as the main card to showcase the up and coming what it's going to be like. And the other 3 champions on this, they're on the older side, so the young breed is coming up, and that's what I believe they're doing. I'm not saying I'm right. That's just my opinion, but I like the direction they're going with Usman, and he's going to deliver because Brett Primus, he's a guy that was a former champion, and he feels that he deserves to be there and he wants that title back. So this guy's hungry, and this guy
he was saying he put out on an interview, I'm going to do an upset. We're like, okay, well, we're aware of what you're trying to do. We're aware.
I mean, you just don't take him lightly. Take him very serious, because he's a serious dude. He says, I'm going to do upset. Hey, don't say, oh, yeah, right. No. Pay attention because he's a serious dude and he's going to come in with that attitude. So myself, and Cain Velasquez is actually going to join me in the corner Usman Nurmagomedov.
I was going to bring that. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, Kane is working the corner with me. Usman asked if Kane can work the corner, and I asked Kane, and Kane said yeah. So Kane's going to be working the corner with me. So that'd be nice, you know. But Usman's ready to go. You know, I don't know what else to say that, you know, but he's going to perform. He's going to have a great performance. He's looking fantastic, and you know, he's a superstar on the rise. People know he's a champion, but pretty soon a lot of people are going to know what I've always said: superstar.
Well, you saw him last camp, and you're seeing he was already the camp. He was about to become the champ, and then he became the champ. So
well,
now
he was the champ 2 fights ago. 2 fights ago.
2 fights ago. My bad. So how much more improvement have you seen? Because I know the guy's always like, he's so young. So it's like he's just jumping in his skill sets, and you're watching him grow in MMA. It grows progressively. Like, what would you say between your last camp and now? Like, wow.
He's made some improvements in all the areas. The smartness, when to take your body, take a break, you know, when to push, you know, how to listen to corners, you know. He's done extremely well, and he's much better than he was when he won the title, and he has to be, you know, because once you set the bar, everybody knows where the bar is at. Well, you got to exceed that bar, because if you don't, people know what they're training for. So you have to be better every time. So, you know, Usman was last fight was fantastic against Benson Henderson. Well, this fight he's much better now, because he needs to be, because, you know, Brett Premis knows what the bar was against Benson Henderson, and he himself, he beat a super tough competitor, and the French guy, you know, who most of us thought was going to be the guy that we'd be fighting, you know, instead of Brett. So there you go. You know, he's upset one guy already, and if we don't pay attention, he could get us too. But, you know, we paid attention. We know what we're up against, and Usman's ready for him. You know, we're not taking him lightly by any means, and he's very serious guy.
You know, that guy that you're talking about, Barnui, he fought on this card and he lost again, by the way. And so it looks like he's lost a step. I remember the fight that he had years ago with Islam, when Islam was just a young pup, like early 20s.
Gave Islam all he can handle.
Yeah, when Islam was new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I see how much Islam has grown since then. And I was watching this guy, and it's like people got his moves that were scary to people back then and figured out, right? So he lost. So that's 2 for him now. Now he's down 2. Now he's that much less of a threat as to, I guess, what he used to be at one time. But it makes sense. I mean, Brett broke him, and then the next guy that beat him broke him. So there we are. That was a thing I was thinking about.
Like I tell you, when you get beat, everybody knows where the bar is at. So now that's why it's harder to come back after defeats, you know, because people figure you out and they know where to come at you, you know, and it's a rough thing to come from a defeat to bring, you know, a win on the next fight. That's why you see most people, especially as they're older, when they start losing, they lose. It's hard for them to come back because they're not hungry enough, you know, and they're not young enough to get that strength back where they were before, you know. So it's a tough thing. That's why it's hard for guys that are in a losing streak to build back up. It's really hard, really hard. So, you know, you see it all the time. Michelle Watterson, we talked about, Tony Ferguson.
Right.
Countless of people. Now, they're not the only ones. There are many more like them, you know. Who else that fought on this card was like on a downward spiral? Quite a few. I mean, if you look down at all the UFC roster and all these other fights, you'll see a lot of the guys
fighting for your job type fights. Like, if you don't win,
but these guys haven't. They're fighting for the job, but they haven't won. They haven't won in 3-4 fights. And this, you know. And it's just, and it doesn't get better. Normally they never make it, and then they get cut at one point. That's normally what I see. I'm not saying that they all get cut, because some do come out of it, but when they're on that type of downward spiral, you know, they usually don't come out of it.
It was interesting, you know, the Johnny Eblen's the end of the fight, he was like, raw. It was like we wanted to attack and almost start a fight with Leon Edwards at the end of the fight, but he apologized. He was just so pumped on adrenaline. If you look at that, you'll see that in the replay there. I was just trying to see who else was on that card, but I can't pull the card up right now. Let's see. You've got you have your guy's going to be fighting over in the Middle East. Are you going to be there for that fight for Amaru?
No, I'll be there for Amaru. I don't know if work his corner, but I will be at that event. Yes. Team Habib is definitely going to be in his corner, but I don't know if I will be. I might not be. It's hard to say, but I definitely will be there. But also, we didn't talk about Daniel Allen, who fought.
I was going to bring him up. Yeah, he
Contenders.
fought and won, right?
No, contenders, UFC contenders, and he fought a real tough fight. Out of all the fights, he's the only one that didn't get a contract, and that's just the way they felt. They felt that for his age, being 31. And he was a 2-1 underdog, and so they said, "Hey, one more fights." One thing he did is he showed everybody how good he was. To me, he was the best fighter of that card. The most relaxed, most all around, game, all around best game in my opinion.
Professional, yeah.
Wrestling, he had anti-wrestling, he had striking, he had it all. He had relaxation, So, but he didn't get the contract, obviously. But that's just how they feel, and that's just the way it goes. But sometimes they do that. Bo Nichols, when he first went into the contenders, he finished his guy in less than a minute, and they felt he wasn't ready enough, so they give him one more fight, finishes that guy in their minute. Then they give him a fight in the UFC, and they finishes that guy under a minute. So it's like right from the get go, you could have put him in.
We knew a minute ago that he was ready.
He was ready. He was ready the first time. So I'm just saying with like Daniel Allen, it's the same thing, but. It is what it is. You can't, the damage is done. You're not in. You can't turn a yes into a no into a yes. I'm sorry. It's just, it is what it is. You have to do what you can from that and move on. And he got a big name from it as far as, bigger name than he's ever had. So now it's a matter of him putting the work and doing a great fight on his next one. And then hopefully I'll get the opportunity to come back and showcase that he does belong there, because I 100% know he belongs in the UFC. He's definitely that quality. He showed it in so many different ways. The third round went really strong in his favor, and he tried to finish that fight. He didn't try to coast to the win, which I knew he had. He tried to finish that fight. So to me, if you're not looking for a guy that got the openings he needed to try to finish the guy, and he did attempt it, he didn't coast, that's the guy you want on board, because that's what Daniel did. He tried to finish this guy, and hey, but it is what it is, they decided that not ready, not yet, but they know who he is now, and that's important too. So we take the good with the bad, right? We'll keep moving forward.
So he gets another shot at the Contender Series. That's what I was curious about. That's what you're saying.
I haven't talked to them because Daniel's got some time off. He needed to basically, to reload himself and to re-energize and come back. But he had some time off. He had a lot of things go wrong. This camp was the worst camp ever for him, and sometimes the worst camps turn out to be favorable as long as you're mentally there, and he never wavered. He had so many mental things happen to him, so many physical things happen to him, and he never once said I'm quitting. He just, how am I going to do this, how am I going to do that? And I said, well, it's up to you. You can bail out. No one's going to bail trouble. No one's going to have a problem with you bailing out, but it's on you. I feel you can win this fight regardless of the hardship you're going through. So it's up to you though. I can't force you to do something you don't want to do, but I think you can win anyways, regardless of what's going on with you. And he goes, you think so? I go, yeah, I absolutely think so. Ron Kessler, our other coach, thought the same. So we're on the same page. And Daniel says, okay, I believe in you guys. So he went through the fight and he fought a super game competitor. Really tough. He had the toughest fight out of everybody too. All the other opponents, the guys that won, their opponent wasn't as tough. The girls' fight was a draw, and the younger girl got it because she was younger, and she was losing the first 2 rounds, came back super strong in the third round. The Brazilian girl got super tired, and the other girl came on super strong, so she got the contract based on her youth and the way she came back, which rightfully so. But again, it's that card was not super stacked with equal talent. This was the only one that was super competitive, was Daniel's fight.
How did that feel as a coach going to Contender Series? It's not as loaded. It's not a big full house. It's just like technical. What's that like for you as a coach going into those scenarios? I mean, how much does it feel any less or feel any more? It feels like the same thing. Feels like business.
Same thing for me. I've done them all already. That one, I'll tell you what I did like about it. I can talk. You can hear what I'm saying.
You can hear
what I'm saying. Yeah, I like it. But the big fights, you don't know if the fighter hears you or not. Because there's so many, so loud. That I mean, from a coaching perspective, I prefer this, because then I can hear myself talk. I can hear the other corner talk. I can hear everybody talk. But in the real fights, like the bigger crowd, not real fights, in the crowded fights, you can't hear nothing. So
Yeah.
you might be able to hear yourself. You may not, So those are the tougher ones. I prefer these as a coach, working the corner. For excitement, for the drama and then this and that, of course, the big show. That's where the biggest, when you win on the big show, that's a bigger high, big giant high. Because here it's not a big giant high. How can it be? There's nobody there. The energy, you feed off the energy of the crowd, and you can't feed off the energy of the crowd if it's less than 100, 200 people.
But you feel like you got the cheat code when they can hear you. Oh, cool. He can hear me. Now I can really get him to do what I want, or really help him improve by a millisecond that might shave things in one direction better than another.
It does work. It does work. If you know how to take advantage, you can come ahead if you do it right.
Well, you being in fights yourself, were you ever in an arena where you couldn't hear your corner?
Yeah, I never heard my corner because I never listened to him.
That's awesome coming from a coach. Well, any new developments? Anything else, Jav? I think we had a good show today. Covered a lot.
No, everything's good. We're all good. Just waiting for Usman's fight. Can't wait for people to see how great he's gotten, and then waiting for Islam Makhachev's defense against Charles Oliveira. That should be a very interesting fight. Yeah, a very interesting fight because Charles Oliveira is coming on with a vengeance, and he wants his title back, and Islam's gonna not want to give it to him. And from what I know about Islam's not going to give it to him. Islam's going to take care of business, and then we'll see on what's next for us. So hopefully everything works out according to what we are planning, and we'll be successful, and then we'll see what's next.
So any updates on Islam? You haven't really probably seen him, or you'll just see him when you roll over there pretty much, huh?
No, I haven't seen him. I haven't. Yeah. Well, I'll see him. I'll see him on the 10th of October.
Right on, Jav. Well, thanks for a good podcast, everybody. Like and subscribe, and thanks for watching the Javier Mendez podcast.